The musical system of ancient Greece evolved over a period of more than 500 years from simple scales of tetrachords, or divisions of the perfect fourth, to the perfect immutable system, encompassing a span of 15 pitch keys. See tonoi below. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 99. Any discussion of ancient Greek music, theoretical, philosophical or aesthetic, is fraught with two problems. There are few examples of written music, and there are many, sometimes fragmentary, theoretical and philosophical, accounts. This article provides an overview that includes examples of different kinds of classification, while also trying to show the broader form evolving from the simple tetrachord to system as a whole. Systema Immutabilon. An overview of the tone system. At about the turn of the 5th to 4th century BCE, the tonal system, Systema Teleion, had been elaborated in its entirety. As an initial introduction to the principal names of the divisions of the system and the framing tetrachords, a depiction of notes and positional terms follows. Greek theorists conceived of scales from higher pitch to lower, the opposite of modern practice, and the largest intervals were always at the top of the tetrachord, with the smallest at the bottom. The characteristic interval of a tetrachord is the largest one, or the tone, in the case of the tense, hard diatonic genus. The image shows the descending 2 octaves of tones with corresponding modern note symbols and ancient Greek vocal and instrumental note symbols in the central columns. The modern note names are merely there for an orientation as to the intervals. They do not correspond to ancient Greek pitches or note names. The section delimited by a blue brace is the range of the central octave. The range is approximately what we today depict as follows. The Greek note symbols originate from the work of Edgar Pullman, 1970. The Greater Perfect System, Systema Teleion Meson, was composed of 4 stacked tetrachords called the from bottom to top hypaton, meson, diisogmenon and hyperboleion tetrachords. See the right-hand side of the diagram. Each of these tetrachords contains the 2 fixed notes that bound it. The octaves are each composed of 2 like tetrachords, 1 to 1 minus 1/2, connected by 1 common tone. The synaphe, at the position of the paramez, which should be the connecting synaphe tone. The continuation of the system encounters a boundary at B-flat, B, to retain the logic of the internal divisions of the tetrachords. See below for more detail, such that meson not consist of 3 whole tone steps, B, A, G, F, an interstitial note. The diasexis, dividing, was introduced between paramez and me acute se. The tetrachord diisogmenon is the divided. To bridge this inconsistency, the system allowed moving the ne acute t 1 step up, permitting the construction of the synemenon connecting tetrachord. See the far left of the diagram. The use of the synemenon tetrachord affected a modulation of the system, hence the name Systema Immutabilon. The modulating system, also the lesser perfect system. It was considered a part, built of 3 stacked tetrachords, the hypaton, meson and synemenon. The first 2 of these are the same as the first 2 tetrachords of the greater perfect right side diagram, with a 3rd tetrachord placed above the meson left side diagram. When viewed together with the synemenon tetrachord placed between the meson and diisogmenon tetrachords, they make up the immutable, or unmodulating, system, Systema Immutabilon. In sum, it is clear that the ancient Greeks conceived of a unified system with the octave as the unifying structure. Interval. The very last, deepest tone no longer belongs to the system of tetrachords reflected in its name, the proslambonomenos. The adjoined below elaborates the mathematics that led to the logic of the system of tetrachords just described. The Pythagoreans, after the discovery of the fundamental intervals, octave, fourth and fifth, the first systematic divisions of the octave we know of were those of Pythagoras, to whom was often attributed the discovery that the frequency of a vibrating string is inversely proportional to its length. Pythagoras construed the intervals arithmetically, allowing for 1 equals unison, 2 1 equals octave, 3 2 equals fifth, 4 3 equals fourth within the octave. Pythagoras' scale consists of a stack of perfect fifths. The ratio 3:2. See also Pythagorean interval and Pythagorean tuning. The earliest such description of a scale is found in Philolaus Fr. B6. Philolaus recognizes that, if we go up the interval of a fourth from any given note, and then up the interval of a fifth, the final note is an octave above the first note. Thus, the octave is made up of a fourth and a fifth. Philolaus's scale thus consisted of the following intervals: 9, 8, 9, 8, 256, 243. These three intervals take us up a fourth: 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 256, 243. These four intervals make up a fifth and complete the octave from our starting note. This scale is known as the Pythagorean Diatonic and is the scale that Plato adopted in the construction of the world soul in the Timaeus. 36 AB. Huffman 2011. The next notable Pythagorean theorist we know of is Ethos, contemporary and friend of Plato, who explained the use of arithmetic, geometric and harmonic means in tuning musical instruments. Ethos is the first ancient Greek theorist to provide ratios for all three genera. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 99. Ethos provided a rigorous proof that the basic musical intervals cannot be divided in half, or in other words, that there is no mean proportional between numbers in super-particular ratio. Octave 2, 1, fourth 4, 3, fifth 3, 2, 9, 8. Huffman 2011. Barker 1984-89. 2, 46-52. Euclid in his The Division of the Canon. Catatome canonos. The Latin sectio canonize. Further developed Ethos's theory, elaborating the acoustics with reference to the frequency of vibrations or movements. Levin 1990. The three divisions of the tetrachords of Ethos were the enharmonic 5, 4, 36, 35, and 28, 27. The chromatic 32, 27, 243, 224, and 28, 27, and the diatonic 9, 8, 8, 7, and 28, 27. Huffman 2011. The three tunings of Ethos appear to have corresponded to the actual musical practice of his day. Barker 1984-89. 2, 46-52. Tetrachords were classified in ancient Greek theory into genera depending on the position of the third note likanos, the indicator, from the bottom of the lower tetrachord. In the upper tetrachord, referred to as the paranet, the interval between this note and the uppermost define the genus. A likanos a minor third from the bottom and one whole major second from the top. Genus diatonic, if the interval was a minor third, about one whole tone from the bottom. Genus chromatic, if the interval was a major third with the 4/3, or a semitone from the bottom. Genus enharmonic. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 5. p. 47. In Ethos's case, only the likanos varies. More generally, depending on the positioning of the interposed tones in the tetrachords, three genera of all 7 octave species can be recognized. The diatonic genus is composed of tones and semitones. The chromatic genus is composed of semitones and a minor third. The enharmonic genus consists of a major third and two quarter tones of diesis. Cleonides 1965. 35–36. After the introduction of the Aristoxenous system. See below. The framing interval of the fourth is fixed, while the two internal, tonoi and parhypate, pitches are movable. Within the basic forms, the intervals of the chromatic and diatonic genera were varied further by 3 and 2 shades, chroi, respectively. Cleonides 1965, 39–40. Matheson 2001a. 6. E. The elaboration of the tetrachords was also accompanied by penta and hexachords. As stated above, the union of tetra and pentachords yields the octachord, or the complete heptatonic scale. However, there is sufficient evidence that two tetrachords were initially conjoined with an intermediary, or shared note. The final evolution of the system did not end with the octave as such but with systema telion. Above, a set of 5 tetrachords linked by conjunction and disjunction into arrays of tones spanning 2 octaves. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 99. After elaborating the systema telion in light of empirical studies of the division of the tetrachord, arithmetical, geometrical and harmonious means, and composition of tonoi, harmoniary, we examine the most significant individual system, that of Aristoxenous, which influenced much classification well into the Middle Ages. The empirical research of scholars like Richard Crocker, 1963, also Crocker 1964, Crocker 1966, c. André Barbera, 1977, and Barbera, 1984, and John Chalmers, 1990, has made it possible to look at the ancient Greek systems as a whole without regard to the tastes of any one ancient theorist. The primary genera they examine are those of Pythagoras' school, Archytas, Aristoxenus, and Ptolemy, including his versions of the Didymos and Eratosthenes genera. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 5. pp. 48–51. The following reproduces tables from Chalmers show the common ancient harmoniary, the octave species, tonoi, in all genera and the system as a whole with all tones of the gamut. The octave species in all genera. The order of the octave species names in the following table are the traditional Greek, followed by later alternates, Greek and other. The species and notation are built around the E-mode, Dorian, although the Dorian, Phrygian, and Lydian modes have distinctive tetrachordal forms. These forms were never named after their parent modes by any of the Greek theorists. In the chromatic and enharmonic genera, the tonics of the species are transformed. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 103. Diatonic, chromatic, enharmonic. The oldest harmoniary in 3 genera. The sign indicates a somewhat flattened version of the named note. The exact degree of flattening depending on the tuning involved. The D listed first for the Dorian is the proslambonomenos, which was appended as it was, and falls out of the tetrachord scheme. These tables are a depiction of Aristides Quintilinus's enharmonic harmoniary, the diatonic of Henderson, 1942, and John Chalmers, 1936, chromatic versions. Chalmers, from whom they originate, states, in the enharmonic and chromatic forms of some of the harmoniary, it has been necessary to use both AD and either AD flat or D flat flat because of the non-heptatonic nature of these scales. CNF are synonyms for D flat flat, AG flat flat. The appropriate tunings for these scales are those of Archytas, Mountford 1923, and Pythagoras. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 109. The superficial resemblance of these octave species with the church modes is misleading. The conventional representation as a section, such as a C-D-E-F followed by D-E-F-G, is incorrect. The species were retunings of the central octave such that the sequences of intervals, the cyclical modes divided by ratios defined by genus, corresponded to the notes of the perfect immutable system as depicted above. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 106. Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Sinton-Lydian, Ionian, Iestian. Classification of Aristoxenus. The nature of Aristoxenus's scales and genera deviated sharply from his predecessors. Aristoxenus introduced a radically different model for creating scales. Instead of using discrete ratios to place intervals, he used continuously variable quantities. Hence the structuring of his tetrachords and the resulting scales have other qualities of consonants. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 3. pp. 17-22. In contrast to Ethos, who distinguished his genera only by moving the Lishnoi, Aristoxenus varied both Lishnoi and Parhypate in considerable ranges. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 5. p. 48. The Greek scales in the Aristoxenean tradition were Barbera 1984, 240, Matheson 2001a, 6, e. d. Mixolydian, Hypate Hypaton Parames, bb. Lydian, Parhypate Hypaton Trite Dies Ugmenon, c. Phrygian, Lycanos Hypaton Paranet Dies Ugmenon, d. Dorian, Hypate Meson Net Dies Ugmenon, e. Hyperlydian, Parhypate Meson Trite Hyperbolaeon, ff. Hypophrygian, Lycanos Meson Paranet Hyperbolaeon, g. Common, Locrian, or Hyperdorian, Mesnet Hyperbolaeon Aproslambanomenos Mes, or aa. These names are derived from ancient Greek subgroups. Dorians, one small region in central Greece, Locris, and certain neighboring, non-Greek, peoples from Asia Minor, Lydia, Phrygia. The association of these ethnic names with the octave species appears to precede Aristoxenus, who criticized their application to the tonoi by the earlier theorists whom he called the harmonicists. Matheson 2001a. 6. e. d. Aristoxenus's tonoi. The term tonos, place, tonoi, was used in 4 senses. As note, interval, region of the voice, and pitch. We use it of the region of the voice whenever we speak of Dorian, or Phrygian, or Lydian, or any of the other tones. Cleonides 1965. 44. Cleonides attributes 13 tonoi to Aristoxenus, which represent a progressive transposition of the entire system, or scale, by semitone over the range of an octave between the Hyperdorian and the Hypermixolydian. Matheson 2001a. 6. e. Aristoxenus's transpositional tonoi, according to Cleonides, 1965. 44, were named analogously to the octave species, supplemented with new terms to raise the number of degrees from 7 to 13. However, according to the interpretation of at least 2 modern authorities, in these transpositional tonoi the Hyperdorian is the lowest, and the Mixolydian next to highest. The reverse of the case of the octave species. Matheson 2001a. 6. e. Solomon chapter 1984. With nominal bass pitches as follows. Descending order. Ptolemy and the Alexandrians. In marked contrast to his predecessors, Ptolemy's scales employed a division of the pycnon in the ratio of 1:2. Melodic, in place of equal divisions. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 2. p. 10. Ptolemy, in his harmonics, E. 3-11, construed the tonoi differently, presenting all 7 octave species within a fixed octave, through chromatic inflection of the scale degrees, comparable to the modern conception of building all 7 modal scales on a single tonic. In Ptolemy's system, therefore, there are only 7 tonoi. Matheson 2001a. 6. E. Matheson 2001c. Ptolemy preserved Archithes's tunings in his harmonics as well as transmitting the tunings of Eratosthenes and Didymos and providing his own ratios and scales. Chalmers 1993. Chapt. 6. p. 99. Harmoniary. In music theory, the Greek word harmonia can signify the enharmonic genus of tetrachord, the 7-octave species, or a style of music associated with one of the ethnic types of the tonoi named by them. Matheson 2001b. Particularly in the earliest surviving writings, harmonia is regarded not as a scale, but as the epitome of the stylized singing of a particular district, a people, or occupation. Winnington Ingram 1936. 3. When the late 6th century poet Lassus of Hermione referred to the Aeolian harmonia, for example, he was more likely thinking of a melodic style characteristic of Greeks speaking the Aeolic dialect than of a scale pattern. Anderson and Matheson 2001. In the Republic, Plato uses the term inclusively to encompass a particular type of scale, range and register, characteristic rhythmic pattern, textual subject, etc. Matheson 2001a. 6. E. The philosophical writings of Plato and Aristotle, c. 350 BCE, include sections that describe the effect of different harmoniae on mood and character formation. For example, Aristotle in the Politics, VIII, 1340a, 41340b. 5. But melodies themselves do contain imitations of character. This is perfectly clear, for the harmoniae have quite distinct natures from one another, so that those who hear them are differently affected and do not respond in the same way to each. To some, such as the one called Mixolydian, they respond with more grief and anxiety. To others, such as the relaxed harmoniae, with more mellowness of mind, and to one another with a special degree of moderation and firmness. Dorian being apparently the only one of the harmoniae to have this effect, while Phrygian creates ecstatic excitement. These points have been well expressed by those who have thought deeply about this kind of education, for they cull the evidence for what they say from the facts themselves. Barker 1984-89. 1. 175-76. In the Republic, Plato describes the music a person listens to as molding the person's character. Aristotle remarks, "From what has been said, it is evident what an influence music has over the disposition of the mind, and how variously it can fascinate it. And if it can do this, most certainly it is what youth ought to be instructed in." Jowett 1937. Aristotle 1912. Book 8. Chapter 5. Ethos. The word ethos in this context means moral character, and Greek ethos theory concerns the ways music can convey, foster, and even generate ethical states. Anderson and Matheson 2001. Melos. Cleonides describes melic composition, the employment of the materials subject to harmonic practice with due regard to the requirements of each of the subjects under consideration. Cleonides 1965. 35. Which, together with the scales, tonoi, and harmoniae resemble elements found in medieval modal theory. Matheson 2001a. 6. According to Aristides Quintilianus, on music, I. 12, melic composition is subdivided into 3 classes: dithyrambic, gnomic, and tragic. These parallel his three classes of rhythmic composition: systolic, diastolic and hesychastic. Each of these broad classes of melodic composition may contain various subclasses, such as erotic, comic and panegyric, and any composition might be elevating, diastolic, depressing, systolic, or soothing, hesychastic. Matheson 2001a. 4. The classification of the requirements we have from Proclus' useful knowledge is preserved by Photios. For the gods, hymn, prosodion, paean, ditherum, nomis, adornidia, iabachos, and hyperchem. For humans, encomion, eponychion, scolion, erotica, epithalamia, hymenaios, silos, thronos, and epicadion. For the gods and humans, parthenion, daphnephorica, tripodophorica, oscophorica, and utica. According to Matheson, such pieces of music were called melos, which in its perfect form, telei and melos, comprised not only the melody and the text, including its elements of rhythm and diction, but also stylized dance movement, melic and rhythmic composition, respectively. Melopoeia and rhythmopoeia were the processes of selecting and applying the various components of melos and rhythm to create a complete work. Matheson 1999. 25. Unicode. Music symbols of ancient Greece were added to the Unicode standard in March 2005 with the release of version 4.1. The Unicode block for the musical system of ancient Greece, called Ancient Greek Musical Notation, is U+1 D200 U+1 D24F. See also Alypius, music writer, which we have from Maibaum, 1652, to Carl von Jan, 1895, Matheson 2001d, Anderson, Warren, and Thomas J. Matheson, 2001, Ethos, The New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians, 2nd edition, edited by Stanley Sadie and John Tyrrell, London. Macmillan publishes Aristotle, 1912, a treatise on government, politics, translated by William Ellis, London and Toronto. J. M. Dent and Sons Limited, New York. E. P. Dutton & Co. Barbera, C. Andre, 1977. Arithmetic and Geometric Divisions of the Tetrachord. Journal of Music Theory. 21. 2. Autumn. 294-323. Barbera, C. Andre, 1984. Octave Species. The Journal of Musicology. 3. 3. Summer. 229-41. Barker, Andrew, ed. 1984-89. Greek Musical Writings. 2 vols. Cambridge and New York. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 0-521-23593-6. v. 1. ISBN 0-521-30220-X. v. 2. Chalmers, John, 1936. Unknown article. A book. Chalmers, John, 1990. Unknown article. A book. Chalmers, John H. 1993. Divisions of the tetrachord. Peritontu tetrachordu katatomon. Sections tetrachordi. A prolegomena to the construction of musical scales. Edited by Larry Polanski and Carter Schultz. Foreword by Lou Harrison. Hanover, New Hampshire. Frog Peak Music. ISBN 0-945996047. Cleonides. 1965. Harmonic Introduction. Translated by Oliver Strunk. In Source Readings in Music History. Volume 1. Antiquity and the Middle Ages. Edited by Oliver Strunk. 35-46. New York. W. W. Norton. Crocker, Richard L. 1963. Pythagorean Mathematics and Music. The Journal of Aesthetics and Art Criticism. 22. 2. Winter. 189–98. Crocker, Richard L. 1964. Pythagorean Mathematics and Music. The Journal of Aesthetics and Art Criticism. 22. 3. Spring. 325–335. Crocker, Richard L. 1966. The Troping Hypothesis. The Musical Quarterly. 52. 2. April. 183–203. DOI. 10.1093. MQ. LII. 2.183. Henderson. M. I. 1942. The Growth of the Greek Rho mu omicron mu iota alpha iota. The Classical Quarterly. 36. 3–4. October. 94–103. Huffman. Carl A. 2011. Arcathas. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Access 25 August 2014. Jan. Carl von. ed. 1895. Musicae Scriptores Graeci. Aristoteles. Euclides. Nicomachus. Bacchius. Gaudentius. Alypius a melodiarum veterum quid extat. Bibliotheca Scriptorum Graecorum a Romanorum Teubneriana. Leipzig. B. G. Teubner. Jowett. Benjamin. 1937. The Dialogues of Plato. 2 vols. Translated by Benjamin Jowett. 3rd ed. New York. Random House. Levin. Flora R. 1990. Unity in Euclid's Sectio Canonize. Franz Steiner Verlag. Matheson. Thomas J. 1999. Apollo's Lyre. Greek Music and Music Theory in Antiquity and the Middle Ages. Of Publications of the Center for the History of Music Theory and Literature 2. Lincoln. University of Nebraska Press. ISBN 9780803230798. Matheson. Thomas J. 2001a. Greece. Section I. Ancient. The New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians. 2nd edition. Edited by Stanley Sadie and John Tyrrell. London. Macmillan Publishers. Matheson. Thomas J. 2001b. Harmonia. I. Quote. The New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians. 2nd edition. Edited by Stanley Sadie and John Tyrrell. London. Macmillan Publishers. Matheson. Thomas J. 2001c. Tonos. The New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians. 2nd edition. Edited by Stanley Sadie and John Tyrrell. London. Macmillan Publishers. Matheson. Thomas J. 2001d. Alypius. Alupios. Quote. The New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians. 2nd edition. Edited by Stanley Sadie and John Tyrrell. London. Macmillan Publishers. Maybaum. Marcus. ed. 1652. Antiquae Musicae Auctors Septem. Graecae Latine. 2 vols. Amsterdam. Apud Ludovicum Elzevirium. Facsimile reprint in Monuments of Music and Music Literature in Facsimile. 2nd series. Music Literature 51. New York. Brood Brothers. 1977. ISBN 9780845022511. Mountford. 1923. Pohlmann. Eggert. 1970. Denkmäler altgriechischer Musik. Erlanger Betrag zur Sprache und Kunstwissenschaft 31. Nuremberg. Solomon. John. 1984. Towards a History of Tonoi. The Journal of Musicology. 3. Summer. 242–51. Winnington Ingram. Reginald P. 1936. Mode in Ancient Greek Music. London. Cambridge University Press. Further reading. Winnington Ingram, Reginald P. 1932. Aristoxenus and the Intervals of Greek Music. The Classical Quarterly. 26. 3–4. 195–208. DOI. 10.1017 per seconds 00098388000144415. Winnington Ingram, Reginald P. 1954. Greek Music. Ancient. Quote. Grove's Dictionary of Music and Musicians. 5th edition. Edited by Eric Blom. New York. St. Martin's Press. Inc. Elsie Hamilton. Booklet on the Modes of Ancient Greece. With detailed examples of the construction of AOLUs, reed pipe instruments, and monochord, which might help reconstruct the intervals and modes of the Greeks. Nikolaos Ioannidis, musician, composer, has attempted to reconstruct ancient Greek music from a combination of the ancient texts to be performed, and his knowledge of Greek music. A relatively concise overview of ancient Greek musical culture and philosophy. Archive from 9 October 2011. A mid-19th century, 1902 edition. Henry S. Macron. The Harmonics of Aristoxenus. The Barbera translation cited above is more up-to-date. Joe Monzo. 2004. Analysis of Aristoxenus. Full of interesting and insightful mathematical analysis. There are some original hypotheses outlined. Robert Erickson, American composer and academic. Analysis of Archythus. Something of a complement to the above Aristoxenus, but dealing with the earlier and arithmetically precise Archythus. An incidental note. Erickson is keen to demonstrate that Archythus' tuning system not only corresponds with Plato's harmonia, but also with the practice of musicians. Erickson mentions the ease of tuning with the lyre. Austrian Academy of Sciences. Examples of instruments and compositions. Ensemble Kerylos, a music group led by scholar Annie B. Acutelis, dedicated to the recreation of ancient Greek and Roman music and playing scores written on inscriptions and papyri.